hack.build, and today we're talking with Caleb Kraft.
That's right. I actually became senior editor for Hackaday and ran the show for a while before Mike Stitch took over. Love what he's doing, and now I'm senior editor for me.
What got you into all of this? Like, where did you first really get exposed to making?
Oh, I mean, I grew up in southern Missouri in an area where it was still kind of part of the culture, right? So we're, there are hillbillies around, and they had like treadle lathes hooked to tree branches, and we had festivals doing that kind of stuff, and steam engine festivals. So I kind of grew up seeing it around, and I also had really geeky big brothers. So things in my house were being disassembled and reassembled around me. It's just always been the way the world was for me.
And so that kind of exposed you to what was the first project you were really proud of?
First project I was really proud of, my parents signed me up in, I'm going to say, 4th grade for an electronics class during the summer, and we made a light organ, an old analog circuit light organ. And that's where I learned how to solder, and it had lights, which is the most important bit. And it didn't change when you made noise, and man, it just blew my mind. First of all, how easy it was if you didn't have to know what any of this stuff did. If you just had somebody give you the parts and say, solder there, solder there, solder there, and then boom, you had stuff. Like, I was just blown away that was even possible at that age, that I could make this thing. And then, of course, I had lights.
A while back, you started a project for creating controllers.
Yeah.
It's called the Controller Project?
Sure. And calling it a project may be a bit grandiose. It's really just me in my spare time. I modify game controllers for people with physical disabilities. Each one of them is completely custom, which is awesome for the people who get them, but it also sucks for time. I can only do like one controller every month or two.
And have you tried kind of growing that community? I've seen a lot of different people kind of get inspired by the Controller Project to find new ways.
I started to, but I've reached a limitation in my own abilities, and I would love a collaborator to help me with this part. There's a lot of people that say, I can help you, I can do a controller, or I volunteer to do a controller, but I don't have a good mechanism for connecting those people who need one. And those people who are volunteering. And what I've been doing is kind of pushing people to either learn my stuff and do it on their own, or to look up the Enable community, which is a very good method of distributing work between volunteers.
Well, what are you working on now? So I've seen at Maker, they have you do a lot of projects on top of your other duties.
I'm the senior editor there, but I get to work in the shop a lot and make videos. And so, man, right now I'm just learning. I decided this year to learn a whole new set of skills. CNC machining, CNC routing, and some instruments I wanted to pick up and learn some music theory. So,
what's the most ambitious project you've done since being editor?
Oh boy, that's a really tough call. I like to challenge myself. The whole goal of what I do usually is to pick something that I didn't think I could do and to just jump into it, just to dive into it. Sometimes they fall apart and they don't happen. And sometimes I get an awesome result in the end, and it feels like every project is the most ambitious project. The most recent one I did, which was actually was a sponsored project as well, was a giant mechanical iris that opened and closed to open and close a skylight. And even though this one was hugely ambitious, since it was also, we had a partner on this project, they supplied a lot of the engineering knowledge to make it go smoothly. So the challenge was removed from me. So it was weird because it was the most ambitious, but it also felt almost the easiest because I had an engineer helping me do it at the same time,
I think that's like one of the best ways to learn is that trial by fire.
Yeah.
And then it's always important to have help. A lot of times when we talk with other makers, everybody has like a barrier of entry that they talk about. When you were first starting out, or even with your new projects, what is the first barrier of entry that usually you feel holds you back most, or that you have the hardest time overcoming?
Well, I've been doing this for a while, and my whole kind of the reason that people even know who I am is because I like to learn new skills. So I don't have like a recurring barrier of entry anymore, but in the beginning, that fear of failing. Now, people say don't be afraid to fail. Everybody says that, don't be afraid to fail. And you can't help but be afraid to fail. But I actually learned to enjoy that failure, to relish that failure, and to look forward to that failure. Because if you look at anyone successful, they've climbed to that level of success on top of their failures. So when I get a new machine or I'm learning a new skill, every failure I get is like a badge. It's like a stepping stone to be able to say, I know what I'm doing. I know how to work this. I have this skill now because I've had 10 failures or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I've learned to enjoy them and relish them.
All right. So I have one last question for you. If you describe Makerfaire in one word, and why? You tell me.
Makerfaire in one word, one single word. Woo, diaspora. Okay, because every time I come to a Makerfaire, I hear the same sentiment. People, a fresh person who's never been to Makerfaire says, I feel so at home here. I feel like these are my people. And at least for me, it was that way too. When I came to Makerfaire, it blew me away how welcomed I felt and how I found all these people that were like me. You know, no matter what I was into or interested in, there were people here that were into it. And I find people that felt alone in their communities and they felt spread out. And then they come to Makerfaire and they find their family or their tribe. So I really feel like diaspora is a good word to encompass the feeling I have with Makerfaire.
That is a perfect answer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Thank you.